Hare Krishna. Uh-oh, sound check. Hello? Hello? Okay, yeah, it's probably working the whole time. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming. Let's begin at the beginning. Om Magyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yene Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Sva Padantikam. Man, that's got such a nice ring to it. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter unto his lotus feet? Oh, I'm a little bit out of breath. Crazy, crazy wind here where I am. I had to go rescue a tarp that flew away. And my old queen size, I gotta write that down. My old queen size bed mattress frame queen queen bed frame is just hanging outside, flying around, getting rained on. Um, Knocking into the trash can. Anyway, here we are. Here we are now. Bhagavad Gita as it is. So many distractions. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. Here we are where we left off at 239. Thus far I have declared to you the analytical knowledge of Sankhya philosophy. Now listen to the knowledge of yoga, whereby one works without fruitive result. O son of Purta, when you act by such intelligence, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Absolutely. This knowledge of yoga, I'm trying to see what that is in Sanskrit. Yukta. That's the knowledge of yoga is translated from Buddhya Yukta, intelligent dovetailing. This is very excellent. There's no, wait a second. Actually, it's Buddhi Yoge, intelligent work without result. But just here, it's so cool how it comes up twice. There's Buddhi Yoge and then Buddhya Yukta. These are actually the same words. They're just conjugated in different ways. So I'm sure if Hridayananda Maharaj was here, he would, you know, break down the Sanskrit inside jokes that Krishna is doing here, which he is. Don't think he's not. Don't think you can't go very deep into this. You absolutely can. Just here by intelligence dovetailed. How to dovetail your intelligence. Okay, so that in the last sentence, when you act by such intelligence, then you free yourself from bondage. And Sankhya describes analytical study. It's Krishna's, I think, repeating the same thing twice in a very just poetic way. But so I think he's saying, so far, Arjuna, I have told you in an analytical fashion the truth about what's happening with karma and reactions and all that. But now I'm going to show you how to actually work this way without seeking any results, and how that frees you from bondage. It looks like a very good purport here. According to the Nirukti, or Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes phenomena in detail, and Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. Okay, so like as with most Sanskrit words, there's the general, practical, universal meaning, and then there's that very particular aspect in reference to the purely transcendental spiritual matters like the soul. These are two different things. Like yoga is, there's a mundane yoga, and then there's like the super transcendental yoga, and it's the same word, but it has two different meanings. Yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Interesting. Sense gratification can occur in so many different ways. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives, he'd be happier than by enjoying the kingdom by conquering his brothers and sons, his cousins and brothers. I believe you might be able to classify this as artificial renunciation, is what Arjuna is doing. Yeah, it's hard to see. It's not like immediate sense gratification in the same way that like we just like seek out, lusty objects because we get immediate gratification. This one is more of an indirect sense gratification. It's not doing something to enjoy something else. In both ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them, and happiness derived by seeing them alive, are both sense gratification. A kshatriya should conquer out of duty, not out of pleasure. And Prabhupada says here, what's happening is Arjuna is sacrificing wisdom and duty for something else, in this case, sense grat, which is worse. So Krishna wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he wouldn't be killing the soul, and all individual people are eternal. So there's no killing or being killed. We're just changing our bodily dress. But actually, we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been graphically explained by Lord Krishna up until this point. And this is described here as Sankhya. So this Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha, or the Supreme Lord, is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti, or nature, and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. And this mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. And that's the last snare of Maya. And only after many, many births and all this sense grat going on forever, a great soul finally surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, and fulfilling the search for ultimate truth. So Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as his master. And so now Krishna is going to tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga, or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. That's very important. So you can argue that sense gratification never ends, and it's just a matter of, instead of gratifying our own temporary and faulty senses, we instead focus on gratifying the pure, absolute, transcendental senses of the Lord. But if we're doing good bhakti, it's good sense gratification. Meaning the Lord rewards us for properly gratifying his senses. And at the same time, because this is our Sanatan Dharma, this is our eternal constitutional position and duty, it's naturally blissful. Just like, when you're not in the habit of serving others, it can be a chore. But once you're actually, if you spend most of the day serving others and completely forgetting about yourself in the process, and on top of that, you're doing a good job and people are telling you you're doing a good job, it's very blissful, because that's our nature. That it's you're getting closer to a more, I was going to say like subprimal, but that's not, there's a better way to describe it, more subtle and eternal aspect of our nature. Okay, this Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddhi Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. It was very advanced stuff. I think Prabhupada's jumping ahead a little bit. Pure knowledge of devotion in love. Yeah, I mean, love is hard. We can devote, we can work hard on something and devote to something, but doing that in love from a state of pure knowledge, not so easy. Thus, the Buddhi Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya mentioned herein has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga by the impostor, blah, blah, blah. One should not, therefore, Yeah, it's not atheistic, okay? And that philosophy did not have any influence during that time. And even if so, Lord Krishna would not care to mention such nonsense. Wow, interesting. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. So you guys, like I've been saying, Bhagavad Gita trumps Srimad Bhagavatam. Been saying it for years. In a way it does. In another way it doesn't. It's all Vedic. It's all Shastra. Doesn't make too much sense going with this better, that worse. It's all nonsense. Whatever's better for you is better for you, and that's good. Here, Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul. And that's what Lord Krishna has been doing up to this point. And Krishna is trying to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in the Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. He said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. I suppose that makes me a definitive example of one in the less intelligent class of men. Although, perhaps to be fair, these are two different words that exist. So even if Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is the same, that still means one is part of the other, or they're exactly the same and they're two different shades of the same color. Like linguistically and logically, it has to be something like that. So I think we should be. I would like to make it more clear in saying that Sankhya Yoga, much like Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga and the others, are best practiced within the umbrella of Bhakti Yoga. Although, if you're slightly less intelligent or fortunate, you can practice just Jnana Yoga for the sake of Jnana Yoga. And that's still nice, but it's not good as, like, um, basically what I'm doing now, which is studying the Gita for as a way to practice Bhakti Yoga. Um, if I could um, go out preaching Harinam Sankirtan, doing Kirtan, if for me, my personality and conditioning, that was better Bhakti Yoga, I'd be doing it. But for me, it's not. I don't have the conditioning to do that sustainably, whereas I can sit here and read the Gita and talk about the Gita for hours. so so it's Bhakti Yoga with a, Jnana Rasa, you could say, or Sankhya Rasa. But yes, it is better to see everything as a devotee, you to see everything as different forms of Bhakti Yoga. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness, in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be. I'm really glad Prabhupada said that, giving us a break here, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental qualities automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense grat for achieving results in terms of family and material happiness. Buddhi Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. The transcendental quality of the work that we perform. That makes it sound that this Buddhi Yoga is not a yoga. It's a quality of something else, namely Bhakti Yoga. I was a little distracted as I was reading this last part here, which is definitely important. So transcendental engagement, and then you get all these qualities automatically. That could be my Instacart shopper, but I'm gonna have to check the app for a second there. Oh yeah, I have to. Oh my God. One second. Well, no one's here live. That's good. If you're listening later, you can pause it for a while. All right, there will be more disruptions from my shopper. I don't know why I didn't get any notifications for that. I said 3 items, but there's only whatever. Okay, so the reason why this works, and I'm speaking especially from personal experience, is that one who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, that is Buddhi Yoga and brings transcendental bliss, even though it's really hard work. And when you do it like that, you get all these other things automatically. Now, that's very different from doing something related to bhakti for your own benefit or for the benefit of other jivas or, etc. That's a much slower path, which is what I know I do, and I'm sure many of you listening are doing this too, which can still work. And there are things that you can do to make that work faster, like ethos, improving your adhikari. That's what ethos means. That'll help, but the only way to get the automatic, to achieve those transcendental qualities automatically is by doing work only for Krishna, for the sake of Krishna, for the sake of Krishna's pleasure, totally selfless. In the same way that the ideal friendship, as described by Aristotle, is an excellent person of excellent, virtue, serving their friend who is also an excellent virtuous person for their sake, not for your sake. Anything you do for your sake is not virtuous friendship. It could be friendship based on pleasure or utility, but friendship in goodness and virtue is for the sake of the other. And then they do the same to you. They serve you for the sake of yourself. Okay, more things. All right, he's got it. Good job, Chris. I am probably going to go back shopping anyway on Monday or Tuesday because I have more time during the day. I have a lighter teaching schedule, and watching these videos about supply shortages and all this crap. It's like, yeah, I might as well just buy a ton of grain and beans while it's cheaper, because it's, even if there isn't a crisis, it's going to get more expensive, guys. There's no doubt about that. And if you're paying attention, you've already seen it. One thing they do is, like with potato chips, they've been doing this because potatoes are, price is getting higher. They have the same price, but it's a smaller amount in the bag, and it's labeled that way too. I'm not talking about just like these bags with empty air in them, which has been that way forever. But instead of a standard like 8-ounce bag, it's like 7 ounces or 6 ounces for the same price. So guess what? You're paying more for it. Really sneaky stuff, but you can't blame them. They have to make money. They're Vaishyas. They're allowed to do that. All right. Finally, the next verse, 40. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. This is a really short but important verse which describes all other transcendental activities, such as judo for me, and anything else which is really difficult, really sattvic, and really spiritually rewarding. You don't, if you just make a tiny bit of genuine advancement, that goes a long way. So, what I learned with judo in the beginning is that being bad at judo, but really trying to do it, but really sincerely doing it, was better than being good at everything else I had done up to that point in my life. Good at my job, good with my family. I mean, just about anything else I could think of. But something as pure and transcendental, although I know bhakti is higher and Krishna is higher, of course, but judo is high enough up there where just doing it and losing is better than winning at 90% of everything else available to us here. So the same is true with this transcendental engagement, but even more so. Even more so. I guess that's fine. Root vegetable medley. Okay, it says he's done shopping for my order, so hopefully no more distractions here, eh? Once again, it's another purport I don't think we should skip. Looks like today only 2 or 3 verses are getting done. I really wonder how many streams it'll take to finish this book. Activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. It's really important. Any contrarily, on the contrary, any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. What I learned in my life growing up is that I just had to be okay with all these failures happening, because if you don't finish it all the way, it is a total failure. The best example I can think of is like selling something, seducing someone, um, all these sorts of things where you need to close, like working for tips. If you don't get a tip, it's a failure. The whole point of that, if you're working for, if like $20 an hour is your like bottom line and you're getting less than that, it's a failure, period. There's no way around that. Um, yeah. So you can keep suffering in this world if you'd like, but it's better to be a failure at something truly great, because actually it's not even failure. That's actually the point here, is that there is no failure. As long as you're genuinely trying and doing something, you're not failing. There's no loss. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results. So the next beginning is from the point of 2%. And without 100% success in the material activity, there is no profit. And from the Bhagavatam 1.5.17, if someone gives up self-gratificatory pursuits and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world, yet suffers the loss of his soul? I believe that's the book of John. I might do a New Testament stream, because I've been reading the gospel for the first time ever, actually, and I really like it. Sorry. It makes a lot more sense, though, honestly, after experiencing Krishna Bhakti. What Jesus is talking about is all the same things, but he's talking about it in parable. So it's, if you have no experience at all, it's like it's weird. But when you do have experience, when you are experienced, you get all the jokes. You get, it's not jokes, but you get it. You get all the references. You get what he's talking about. Um, yeah. Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries the person again to Krishna consciousness even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmin or in the rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance. And that's the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. "41. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, The intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched. Very, very relevant verse here to my modern Western friends. And oh my God, what a long purport on such a simple verse. It's like understand. I'm really lucky I got to live in Asia for so many years because it's just like duh. But if you haven't, like, so many of my friends, my god brothers, just they don't see the problem at all. Like, it's fine. It's just like we were talking about earlier with Buddha yoga and Bhakti yoga. If you're doing Buddha yoga as this one, as just another thing in your Bhakti, it's fine. It's like doing kirtan and then offering boga as prasad. It's like that's all Bhakti. It's all Bhakti. So it's fine. You can make it as variegated as you want and diverse as you want. As long as it's Bhakti, it's Bhakti. But when you like research, like, how to store food for 10 years, and you like, or whatever, like, material thing you're researching, of all the many different things there are, and you get attached to it, as soon as it's not under that one focus, and then you have all these different focuses, and then those different focuses compete with each other, you're just lost. Like, and you can get good at lots of different things, but if there isn't one uh peak, if there isn't one um yeah, like, ultimate goal of everything, you're just lost. And you can be an excellent lost soul or a mediocre lost soul, but you're lost. So for me, what ethos has been from age 16, or even from birth up until I found the Gita, even though I was studying all these different things and doing different hobbies, there was always one goal I was working for. So I never got lost, and I was constantly growing and getting better until eventually nothing worked anymore. And I was just like, well, basically, I was fine with death. I confronted my own death and I said, that's fine if that happens. And I really believed that. And then I said, okay, well, what's the point? What else do I do here? And, I continued to play video games and whatever else. But it was shortly after that, very shortly after that, that this Bhagavad Gita came into my life. And it's Krishna's way of saying, oh, no, there's still a ton more you can do. Oh, and by the way, Alex or Vidyananda, that one thing that you've really been focusing on, which you think is ethos, is my ethos. That's what Krishna is telling me. And you're trying to be more like me without realizing it, and that's fine. But just so you know, Krishna is Krishna, not you. How to properly follow without imitating is an art. Not many people can do this. Okay, let's read this purport, man. I can't wait to hear what Prabhupada will say. Strong faith in Krishna consciousness. And the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika. Vyavasayat. What a word. Oh my God. Vyavasayatmika. 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 Intelligence. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it states, we don't have a reference here, we just have Sanskrit. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. Perfect definition. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he doesn't have to worry about the material world, humanity, nationality. And fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. But when you're awake in Krishna consciousness, you no longer endeavor for good results in activities, and all activities are on the absolute plane. They are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad, dvandva moha. or maybe just dvandva, the dualities. The highest perfection is renunciation of the material life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. That's true. I can vouch for that from personal experience. I'm not completely renounced, but I mean, the lack of taste I have for anything material is pretty profound. I still engage in a lot of these things, but I don't care about it, you know. What I like doing is exactly this, what I'm doing now, and that's why I'm doing it. But unfortunately, I have a lot of other duties I need to do, and I'm technically a grihasta. I think if I was like a 70-year-old sannyasi or brahmachari, or like a 15-year-old brahmachari, I would actually just read the Gita for hours every day and other texts. But I got to pay the bills. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge by which one comes to know perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As water on the root of the tree is automatically distributed to the leaves and branches, in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Just water the root of the plant instead of the leaves. It's literally that simple. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of a spiritual master who knows the nature of the student and can guide him to act appropriately. And so you have to act firmly and obey this representative of Krishna, and accepting the instruction of the bona fide master as one's mission in life. Srila Visvanath Chakravarti Visvanatha Chakravarti Thakur. I know I've heard that name before, but I would need to practice my pronunciation. Instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows. This is from the introduction. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. Oh, okay. Yep. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically, Raja Vidya. When there is no longer chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities. One who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. So unfortunately, Prabhupada didn't actually answer any of my questions in that purport or talk about what I was talking about as soon as I read this verse. Well, later on in this chapter, there'll be the verse about the higher taste. I think it's 259. And that's how you actually stay resolute in your purpose. And I mean, this is basically just math or geometry. If you don't have one purpose, that means you have many other purposes. That's just math. And if you have many other purposes, how are you going to organize your time? How are you going to act in the world? Oh, one day you'll do this thing, the other day you'll do that, one moment this, another moment that. And then you're just going to be, it's like, it's unnatural or it's unorganized. You're at the whim of the material modes and past karma by definition, pretty much. Whereas when you just pick the highest thing you can possibly do and then focus only on that, it's really difficult. But whatever progress you make in that, whatever tiny little progress you make in that, it will stick. It will stay with you forever. Okay, this is 242 to 43. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Okay, this is a very important verse and relevant. God, I'm saying that every time. I hope you're not bored. So, flowery words of the Vedas, this has many different meanings to me. I mean, there's the literal interpretation where, it's referring to. I mean, it's true though. I like the Vedas are very flowery. They're very like once you start reading this and you're able to actually accept it, you go, wow, it's beautiful, it's intelligent, it's blissful. It's just great. It's just great stuff. But that greatness, that aesthetic quality, is exactly that. It's just an external quality, which is a byproduct of the essential internal quality, which is the essence, which is what we're actually after. Um, so if you forget about the essence and you just get caught up in the external aspects of Krishna Bhakti, whether it's reading, listening, dancing, singing, whatever. I mean, this is just I see this all over the place in ISKCON with so many devotees, and I don't blame anyone for that. I mean, prasadam is delicious, kirtan is fun. All of these things are very engaging to our senses. They're very flowery activities, and if you, God, this we were just talking about this last night. If you're, if you're going to a kirtan because it's a good kirtan, and then it's not a good kirtan because there isn't enough people there, or like the musical qualities aren't very good, then you go, oh, this sucks, and you go home. I do this. Like I said, we were talking about this last night with my god brothers, and it's like it's very natural to do it like this, but we're missing the point. You do kirtan for Krishna, not for yourself. And so it doesn't matter who's there. If it's good music or bad music, you just keep doing it for Krishna because that's the thing that you do. And if you're expectant or too attached to that flowery nature of it, then naturally you will not participate when it isn't flowery. So what this means is when you and I and others are having these thoughts like, oh yeah, I mean, I could go to the temple, but oh, that person is cooking the offering tonight. I don't really like their prasadam. Or oh, it's a Tuesday, it's a Wednesday night. No one's gonna be there. It's just gonna be me and one or two other people in the temple hall. I won't get anything from that. I mean, why bother? This is low level neophyte behaviors. We're supposed to be doing this for Krishna, not for ourselves. And Krishna has designed the Vedas so that they're flowery, so that they're pleasant and beautiful and intelligent and all this stuff. But that's not why you do it. Because if you do it only for that, what you're saying to yourself is that this is just like anything else. It's just literature, it's just music, just like all the other things that are food, right? That anything else that can fit into those categories, you think, oh, this is just like all the other things, but I just like this kind more. Once again, very prevalent in, well, let's just say North American ISKCON. ISKCON is actually the international community, and Yeah, in more advanced cultures, the devotees there are naturally more advanced. You know, that's how ethos and adhikari works. It's you can't get around it easily. But yeah, it's not hard to do things for Krishna because we can't always hear. We don't always have like a very close personal relationship with him, where we don't. He's not right next to us in our fallen conscious. He is right next to us, in the heart, in the most subtle way. But a lot of times we're not good enough to pick up on those subtleties, and we don't really know what's the next best thing to do for him. So he sends his bona fide representatives, and we have these shastra. We have all these things that we can follow, and it's hard work just sticking directly to the shastra, um, just to please Krishna, just because it's the rules, regardless of how fun it or not fun it is. This is really hard work sometimes. Unless you have that high taste, it's definitely going to be hard. It's going to be dry and boring and tedious and hard and difficult. And yeah, it's going to suck. But um, that's it. That's the beginning and the end. The ultimate goal of all this is to just be with Krishna and play with Krishna and serve Krishna. That's the end. And you get to the end by doing the beginning, which is the same exact thing. So you just keep doing it until you're good enough at it and you're renounced and detached enough from all that material crap that you just keep. It's just fun. So you keep doing it because that's your nature, and you just want to keep doing it. Prabhupada's purport here. Let me double check my phone. All right, out for delivery. Okay, so I'm definitely going to be cutting this off by 5:25 or earlier. Oh, 5:18. That's in 10 minutes. I guess this is our last verse here. People in general are not very intelligent, and due to their ignorance, they are most attached to the fruitive activities recommended in the Karmakanda portions of the Vedas. They do not want anything more than sense gratificatory proposals for enjoying life in heaven, where wine and women are available and material opulence is very common. Yep, that's totally. I mean, unfortunately, that's even true of religions in general, like Islam. The Western ones. So many Christians. With Jews, it's a little different, actually, in a good way. I don't know that many Jews that are like really working towards heaven. Oh, maybe it's because Jews are better at getting heaven on earth than the other Western ones. But 72 virgins in heaven, and eternal heaven versus eternal hell for many modern Christians. This is all nonsense, but this is the best they got, you know? Um, and it's sad they don't see the blatant material reality of that attitude. Um, sure, it's having nice wine and women here is great. And if you can do that on a heavenly planet with a heavenly body lasting thousands of years, that's even more better. Sure. But where does it go? It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't and anyone who's had sex a single time, I think should be able to figure that out. Like, yeah, it feels good. And then I'm done. And it's like, now what? Either you feel like a lot of times I feel gross after that happens, and I look at the person next to me and I go, oh, I mean, even if it's good for both of us, which has only happened a couple times for me, it's still like, all right, see you later. like, and it's probably even worse if I was married to someone and it's like I have to like stick around with them after that. She'd have to be just so perfect. In the Vedas, many sacrifices are recommended for elevation to the heavenly planets, especially the Jyotistoma sacrifices. In fact, it is stated that anyone desiring elevation to heavenly planets must perform these sacrifices. And men with a poor fund of knowledge think that this is the whole purpose of the Vedas. So it's very difficult for these people to become determined in Krishna consciousness, as fools are attracted to the flowers of poisonous trees without knowing the results of such attractions. And similarly, unenlightened men are attracted to heavenly opulence and the sense enjoyment in there. So in the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, it said those who perform the 4 monthly penances become eligible to drink the Somarasa beverages to become immortal and happy forever. Even on this earth, some are very eager to have Somarasa and do all this. They have no faith in liberation and are very much attached to the pompous ceremonies of Vedic sacrifices. They are sensual. They do not want anything other than the heavenly pleasures of life. It is understood that there are gardens called Nandan Kanana, in which there is good opportunity for association with angelic, beautiful women and a profuse supply of Somarasa wine. And it's all sensual. So therefore, those who are purely attached to material temporary happiness, there are those who are attached to this. All right, let's do a little more. 44. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination of devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Actually, in the Sanskrit, it says never takes place. And it's a tiny purport here for something so important. I guess Prabhupada thinks that it's so obvious to all these readers here. Or maybe this is just a very clear verse. There's no way to interpret this any other way. It's also, the Bhagavad Gita, much like the Ethos book I've published based off Aristotle, it's there is an exactness in this field that we can never achieve. So when it says those who are too attached to sense enjoyment, I mean, you can go there's a lot of details missing there. Does that mean someone who's who smokes weed once every 2 days, but has a very I don't know, but eats healthy, or does that mean someone who aggressively masturbates many times per day? That's too attached, but just a little bit here is oh no, there's still hope. There's so many different particular instances with different people, different times and places. What's too much? What's not too much? So we have to use our own intelligence to see where we're at. But the truth is that whatever is for you too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, you may come to a Hare Krishna temple or a mosque or church or whatever, and hey, Jesus is great, Hare Bol, you might do that for a little bit and find some bliss, but the resolute determination of devotional service, it's never going to fit in there. It's just not. It's just like when you're really proud, when you don't have any humility, when you're just very proud and prideful, how are you going to submit to the Lord forever? That's ridiculous. It's not possible. It's not psychologically or spiritually possible to have those two opposite things at the same time. It's just not possible. You have to make room for the light. If it's only darkness and you insist on darkness and then the light starts coming near, you're going to run away deeper into darkness. So you have to make some space for it. Samadhi means fixed mind. The Vedic dictionary, Nirukti, says Samyag adiyate smin atmatattva yathatmyam. When the mind is fixed for understanding the self, it is called samadhi. Samadhi is never possible for persons interested in sense enjoyment, nor for those bewildered by temporary things. They are more or less condemned by the process of material energy. All right, kiddos, next time we will do 245. All glories to Srimad Bhagavad Gita. 245. Next time, that will be it. Hare Krishna. Sorry that was so long on so few verses, but I'm mostly apologizing to myself because there's so much bliss. You can't see all the bliss I'm in right now. I can only laugh because, like, on the one hand, I want to like read the whole Gita and then read it again or whatever, but like the whole point of me doing this is to really read every single thing instead of just skipping through to the parts I like. That's what I haven't done in years, and that's why I'm doing this. And as I do this more and more, I just realize how much I love it, and I can get stuck on one verse for so long, and there's no way around that. So it is what it is. See you next time, next week.